Hey everybody, welcome back. We just wrapped up in our last shoot talking about the house hunting process of buying a home through a lender, and Christina was able to give us an introduction into the different types of institutions such as credit unions, mortgage bankers, mortgage brokers,
yeah.
and also talked about special programs. So if you want to watch those videos, make sure to go check it out in our other channels. And again, we're live on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So if you want to get in touch with us through there as well. With that being said, let's begin our next segment. So Christina, before we, for the audience, can you give us a short introduction to who you are one more time, and then can you begin?
Yeah, I'm Christina Beitler. I'm a mortgage advisor with the elite team at Loan People. So again, a mortgage bank, locally sourced and owned here in Austin, Texas.
Okay, fantastic. I am also locally sourced from here as well. I like to say I'm a consultant from the Austin Metro, but I also serve the Texas region as well. With that being said, let's start with our conversation today. So we were talking about, again, the whole house hunting process and thinking about different roles that a lender plays in the process. Now I want to jump into the actual legwork that a buyer goes through, right?
Sure.
We were talking about the viewers that we have who are probably in a stage where they have already found their lender, but they have not submitted an application, they have not started their house hunt, but they probably have some ideas of these are the homes that I want according to ZillowRealtor.com, whatever,
Sure.
right? So I want you to walk me through what should happen, what should be the natural communication from a buyer to a lender when they're starting to kickstart their house hunting journey.
Sure. So, if you've selected your lenders, you've probably gone through a little bit of an initial consultation with them. They will, talk through kind of what your scenario is, what your goals are, so that way they can kind of start to preemptively think through what options are available for you. When you've committed to saying, hey, I want to go with you, then they will likely have you submit a mortgage application.
Yeah.
That is a very seamless process. It'll probably take you about 20 minutes at most. So you would submit an online application. That's the majority of what is out there. Of course, we can all do it by phone or old school and meet you in person and sit down and
I did not know you could do that, actually.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, that's so possible.
We can take it back.
That's really cool.
Part of that application is we also want to collect your documentation.
Yeah.
So you want to be prepared and have an idea of what your pay stubs are, what your bank statements are. Maybe start pulling those and putting them in a special folder on your phone or in your inbox. In addition to that, you want to start collecting some of your tax documentation, whether that's W-2s or full tax returns.
Yeah.
Because every lender, no matter what program, is going to want to see that general information.
Yeah.
So that's part of the application process. Most lenders can issue a pre-qualification within 24 hours at most. So it's a very quick process. The next step, however, is a full pre-approval.
Okay.
And to speak to that, it's a little differently. Pre-approval truly means an underwriter within your lender's institution has reviewed your information, your documents, as well as your application and credit report.
Okay.
For a true pre-approval, you have to have a hard inquiry to your credit report. So be mindful that that's why I say narrow it down to 3, because you do not want to have too many people dinging you outside of that 45-day window.
That makes sense.
So, but once we do that, again, between 24 to probably a few days, if you do a full underwritten pre-approval, we can easily supply a letter to you and your real estate consultant, so that if you go and see a home and you fall in love, you're prepared.
Specifically talking about the underwriting process, you mentioned that that's where they go from pre-qual to pre-approval.
Correct.
So there has been sort of a misunderstanding with, sometimes from my understanding as well, as well as how I translate the information that I get from a lender to a client, is a pre-approval and pre-qualification sometimes can be the same thing in some cases, or is it always a situation where listing agents or new construction builders, they're okay with having a pre-qualification sort of a pre-approval? So can you help me understand I understand there's that credit aspect of it that gets hit, but precisely what is needed, a pre-qualification or a pre-approval?
Sure. So from a compliance legal standpoint, there is a difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved.
Okay.
Pre-qualified, and there's many levels of pre-qualified. Pre-qualified could be, I took it at your word, which legally we have to.
Oh, interesting.
So per CFPB, I cannot mandate you send me any documents.
Yeah.
I have to trust what you're providing to me.
Yeah.
A step above that is me as a lender can say, please provide me X, Y, and Z, and state I have reviewed that and confirm that per the application. So again, pre-qualified I, the mortgage loan officer, have reviewed the documentation. Pre-approval, however, is you're committing to going that additional step and saying, not only have I supplied my documents, not only has the mortgage loan officer looked at it, I want your underwriter, a licensed underwriter, to review and accept the documentation I provided.
Yeah.
When the underwriter does that, that per our compliance is a true pre-approval.
That makes sense. Okay, gotcha.
Now, from a accepting of an offer, I have seen it many ways where they'll take pre-qualified or pre-approval. I think it's the reputation of the loan officer that comes into play with that, and the respect that that loan officer has developed within the industry and the tenure. Or if the borrower is very unique scenario, for example, a lot of our entrepreneurs out there are self-employed, so they take a little extra love and care. So a pre-approval may make more sense because it gives that listing agent an extra assurance because that person may have a more unique scenario.
Right. And it's quite interesting that you brought up the entrepreneurship side as well as reputation and respect in the community, especially in your profession. So I want to now dive a little bit more into, let's say, the person has identified the house, they have gone through the loan application process. Now they're about to submit an offer. Specifically, we're talking about the case is a residential resale purchase, right? So just for a quick understanding of how this works is you have new construction and then you have resale. Resale is a home that can close within 35 days. That's a quick move-in home, or sometimes you can buy cash purchase and move in within a week or so. New construction sometimes tend to be a quick move-in. You have to be built, you have under construction and things of that nature. And those properties and those categories have different timelines. So that means a new construction could have a quick move-in that could be 35 days. You could also have something that is to be built, which means the ground is flat, you have to get permitting and things like that. And something that's under construction means it might complete in 3 months or so. Just to give a quick understanding. So talking about residential resale homes, let's say my buyer has found the pre-approval document, gone through the process, got his pre-approval document specifically, and now submitted an offer and has been accepted. Tell me what happens from we get an acceptance email or an acceptance offer saying everything's good to go. What sort of happens from your behind the scenes? How does your conversation with the listing agent, the buyer's agent sort of exist? If you can give us a quick in-depth from beginning to closing.
So typically in today's market, when you submit an offer, the listing agent actually calls your loan officer. So that's where it's important to understand your choice of loan officer's communication and availability. So we have a conversation. We typically confirm verbally that we have reviewed whatever documentation and kind of set the pace of what our feeling is on the loan. Once the contract's accepted and everybody's executed, the time clock is ticking. So we as a lender, we have several dates within executed on that contract that we have to meet. So realistically, once that document is signed, the most important step any agent or even buyer can do is provide that copy to your preferred lender or the lenders you're comparing. Once the contract is executed, that's when if you are shopping and you have 3 lenders, that is when your lenders start to go to bat for you. So at that point, on the same day and within a very small window, I typically recommend within 3 hours at most, to get all of your official quotes from your lender. So you do want to receive either a loan estimate and or a worksheet with their best and firm offer. And from that, you can compare apples to apples, what's a best fit for you rate-wise. And I do recommend choosing that the same day if possible. Just because, again, in today's market with the way we move, you need to choose your lender once you're under contract very, very quickly. So once you've chosen that lender, then that lender dives in. And what they'll typically do is they'll reach out to your buyer's agent, they'll reach out to you as the borrower, and then they'll reach out to title as well as the listing agent. So there's multiple phone calls. But what the lender's doing behind the doors is we're preparing your official disclosure packet. So per CFPB, which CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's who regulates us. They basically dictate what we legally have to send to you. And it's a healthy packet. And so that's what your lender's doing day one. So your lender typically day one is going to bat and competing for you, typically securing your rate if you've chosen them, contacting all parties and preparing all your disclosures. So be available for your lender and for your agent on the day after you sign.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of communication that's needed.
I agree.
To make some decisions.
And talking about being available, let's talk about buyer etiquette, right?
Sure.
That's a pop-up question that I want to just talk about. What is considered a good relationship between a lender and all the parties involved, and sort of like what sort of qualities define a good relationship, especially once you're under contract going to close?
Sure. So typically, in my personal opinion and what my experience has been, good lender etiquette and good lender relationships is that they're accessible for you.
Yeah.
So meaning in the urgency of time, because we are under a time-driven contract,
Yeah.
they are available for you, or they're communicative on when they can be available for
Yeah.
you via text, email, phone. They need to be prompt in their response.
Yeah.
I think that's fair just to say, yes, they may not be able to pick up the phone, but I can call you at X time.
Yeah.
So that way everybody's moving efficiently and gives you time to do all the pieces you need.
I agree. And talking about communication, I know we already kind of gave a plug in the beginning. What is your Facebook handle?
It's the same as my Instagram handle.
Which is?
Christina B_mortgage. So Christina B Mortgage.
Okay, fantastic. So if there's anyone that want to get in touch with someone like her who understands the fact that communication, flexibility, as well as attentiveness to detail is key, then I highly recommend, because this is our second or third time meeting in person, and the level of depth and education you provide, like it's quite literally what you expect is what you're getting. So I appreciate that. Now let's pivot, and I want to take a time to dig into a little more about what happens after closing, or actually what happens at closing then happens after closing, because sometimes people realize closing is probably just getting a check-in and then you're done, but it's a couple more paper signing. There's a lot of documentation that's going to be thrown at you in the span of 1 hour.
Yes.
So before we dig into that, my name is Nithin Thomas. This is Christina Beitler. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.